Imagine you're alone in your home, the clock ticking past midnight. The village outside is silent, its cottages dark under a moonless sky. You hear a faint rustle of letter slides under your door, its edges sharp against the floor. Your name is scrawled on the envelope in ink so black it seems to swallow the light. With trembling hands you open it, and the words inside hit like a blade, accusations of betrayal, shame, secrets you thought buried forever. Their lies twisted and cruel, but they know too much. Who saw you that night? Who's been watching, waiting, weaving this web of poison in the sleepy village of Lymstock? This nightmare is real. A faceless writer, a moving finger, is tearing lives apart with venomous letters. And no one is safe. Welcome to the moving finger, where every neighbor is a suspect, every glance hides a motive, and only Miss Jane Marple can pierce the darkness before it claims a life. Buckle up. Mystery lovers, this tale will grip you, twist you, and keep you guessing. Hit that like button if you're ready for suspense, and let's unravel this chilling puzzle together. Hello, mystery fans, and welcome to the eerie world of the moving finger. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button and join me as we dive into a tale that'll make your skin crawl. We're in Lymstock, a postcard-perfect English village where roses climb stone walls. Tea is served promptly at 4, and everyone knows your name. But beneath the charm, something sinister festers. Our story follows Jerry Burton, a pilot grounded by a plane crash that left him scarred and restless, seeking quiet. He and his lively sister Joanna rent a house in Lymstock, hoping for a fresh start. The village seems like a dream, quaint shops, friendly vicars, and gossipy locals who nod warmly as you pass. But there's a tension in the air, like the hum before a storm. You can feel it, can't you? That sense that something's off. Jerry and Joanna settle into Little Firs, a cozy house owned by Miss Emily Barton, a fluttery spinster with anxious eyes. She's the kind of woman who apologizes for the weather, but there's a flicker of fear in her smile, as if she's hiding something. The siblings shrug it off, eager to blend into village life. They meet the locals, Dr. Griffith, a gruff but kind physician, Mrs. Symington, the lawyer's wife whose pale face seems to carry a secret, and Megan, her gangly stepdaughter who lurks on the edges of conversations, watching with eyes too sharp for her age. There's also Mr. Pye, an eccentric collector of antiques and rumours, and Agnes, the Symington's maid, whose nervous giggles hint at unease. Everyone's polite, but their glances linger too long, their words too careful. It's like they're all waiting for something to break. Then it happens. A letter arrives for Jerry and Joanna, slipped under their door like a thief in the night. No stamp, no return address, just their names in jagged, angry script. Inside, the words are venomous, accusing them of being lovers, not siblings, in language so crude it burns to read. Jerry scoffs at first, surely it's a sick joke. But Joanna's shaken, her usual spark dimmed. They soon discover they're not alone. The vicar's wife, Mrs. Dane Calthrop, got one accusing her of an affair. Dr. Griffith received one hinting at malpractice. Even Miss Barton, the picture of propriety, clutches a letter that calls her a hypocrite in ways too vile to repeat. These aren't random pranks, they're precise, personal, designed to wound. Each letter knows just where to strike, exposing fears and insecurities the recipients thought were hidden. Who's writing these? A spiteful neighbor, a jilted lover, or someone with a darker purpose? Jerry, restless and curious, starts asking questions. The villagers are tight-lipped, their smiles strained. Mrs. Symington avoids his gaze, her hands trembling as she pours tea. Megan trails him like a shadow, dropping cryptic hints about things she's seen. Mr. Pye, with his sly grin, suggests the letters are art, but his eyes glint with something unsettling. The local police, led by the plodding inspector, Graves call it a nuisance, nothing more. But Jerry's not so sure. The letters keep coming, each one nastier, each one bolder, and the village's warmth fades into suspicion. Neighbors eye each other warily, friendships fray, and whispers fill the air. What if these letters aren't just words? What if they're a prelude to something worse? This chapter is just the beginning, setting the stage for a mystery that twists. Through Lymstock's heart, the poison pen is out there watching, waiting, and its next move will shake the village to its core. In Chapter 2, we'll see the stakes rise as a shocking tragedy pulls Miss Marple into the fray, and the true danger of the moving finger reveals itself. What do you think who's behind these letters? Drop your theories in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for the next chilling chapter. The air in Lymstock grows thicker, the village's charm now a thin veil over something rotten. Jerry Burton can't shake the unease those poison pen letters have stirred. They're like splinters under the skin, small but festering, and the whole town feels it. Neighbors who once shared scones now exchange wary glances, their conversations clipped, their smiles forced. Jerry's digging for answers, but every question seems to hit a wall. The letters keep coming, each one sharper, crueler, burrowing into the deepest fears of their targets. And then the unthinkable happens. A line is crossed, and the moving finger claims its first victim. It's a grey morning when the news spreads like wildfire. Mrs. Symington, the lawyer's wife, is dead, found in her drawing room, her face pale as the lace curtains, a glass of spilled tea beside her. The official word is suicide cyanide. Quick and brutal. A letter was clutched in her hand, its words so vicious they could have driven anyone to despair. It accused her of infidelity, of betraying her husband with a man she barely knew. The village buzzes with shock, but Jerry's gut twists. Suicide? Mrs. Symington was fragile, sure, but something about this feels staged, like a scene from a grim play. Her stepdaughter, Megan, is a ghost at the edges of the chaos, her eyes red but dry, watching everyone. When Jerry tries to talk to her, she mutters she didn't do it, not herself. Her words hang in the air, cryptic and heavy. The police, led by Inspector Graves, are quick to close the case. Tragic but clear, he says, brushing off Jerry's doubts. The letter pushed her over the edge, he claims, and the cyanide well. It's not hard to get in a village full of gardens and old sheds, but Jerry's not buying it. He notices details the police miss. The way Mrs. Symington's tea tray was neatly set, as if she'd been expecting company. The faint smudge of ink on her fingers, not her usual tidy self. And then there's Megan, who keeps hovering, dropping hints about a shadow she saw near the house that morning. Was someone there? Did Mrs. Symington let someone in before she died? Jerry's questions lead him to the vicarage where Mrs. Dame Calthorpe, the vicar's wife, listens with a sharp, knowing gaze. She's not like the others. She doesn't flinch from the ugliness. This isn't just spite. She tells Jerry, her voice low, it's evil, deliberate, and it's not done yet. She mentions a friend, someone who sees through lies. Like glass, Miss Jane Marple. Jerry's skeptical. What can an elderly spinster do? But Mrs. Dame Calthorpe insists, and soon Miss Marple arrives. All soft smiles and knitting needles, her eyes missing nothing. She listens to Jerry's story, her head tilted, and says, people reveal themselves in what they choose to hide. It's cryptic, but her calm unnerves him. Like she's already piecing together a puzzle he can't see. The village, meanwhile, is unraveling. Mr. Symington, the widower, is a shell, his grief tinged with something Jerry can't place. Guilt, fear? The locals whisper about the letters, wondering who'll be next. Mr. Pye, the antique collector, seems almost gleeful, calling the tragedy a fascinating study in human nature. Agnes, the Symington's maid, is jumpier than ever, avoiding Jerry's questions about what she saw that day, and Megan, she's everywhere, watching, listening. Her odd comments sticking in Jerry's mind like burrs. The letters haven't stopped, either. One arrives for Dr. Griffith, accusing him of tampering with patients' lives. Another lands at the vicarage, hinting at secrets in the church itself. Each one tightens the noose around Lymstock. Miss Marple starts asking quiet questions, her gentle manner disarming. She talks to Megan, who opens up about her stepmother's last days, how she'd been distracted, almost afraid. Marple notices the girl's keen memory, her knack for details others overlook. A very observant young woman, she murmurs to Jerry, and he wonders what she's seen in Megan that he hasn't. The chapter closes with a chilling moment. Jerry finds another letter, this one addressed to him, but it's different, less crude, more precise, warning him to stop asking questions. The handwriting is the same jagged scroll, but the tone feels colder, like a blade held to his throat. Is the writer getting desperate? Or is this just the beginning? We're only scratching the surface, and Lymstock's secrets are starting to spill. In Chapter 3, Miss Marple digs deeper, and a new clue points to a suspect no one expected. Who do you think sent that warning to Jerry? Drop your guesses in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for the next twist. Lymstock's charm is all but gone now, replaced by a creeping dread that clings to every corner. Jerry Burton feels the weight of that latest letter, the one warning him to back off like a stone. In his pocket, its sharp words echo in his mind, but he's not one to scare easily. The village is a pressure cooker, and with Mrs. Symington's death still raw, every glance feels like a challenge, every whisper a clue. Miss Marple, with her serene smile and clicking knitting needles, is a quiet force, her questions cutting through the fog of suspicion. As the poison pen's grip tightens, a new lead emerges, pointing to someone nobody saw coming. Jerry's days are consumed by the mystery. He's no detective, but the letters feel personal now, especially after that veiled threat. He starts watching the villagers closer, noting their habits, their hesitations. Miss Marple, meanwhile, settles into Lymstock like she's always belonged, sipping tea with the locals and listening to their chatter with a keen ear. She's staying with Mrs. Dane Calthrop at the vicarage, and her presence is like a lantern in the dark, steady, unyielding. The truth she tells Jerry one afternoon is often in the things people don't say. Her words stick with him as he combs through the village, looking for cracks in the facade. The breakthrough comes unexpectedly. Megan, Mrs. Symington's stepdaughter, is at the heart of it. She's been trailing Jerry, her awkward presence, both unsettling and intriguing. One rainy afternoon, she pulls him aside, her voice low. "I found something," she says, her eyes darting like she's afraid of being overheard. She shows him a scrap of paper, torn and crumpled, found in her stepmother's desk after the funeral. It's not a letter, but a list, names, dates, snippets of gossip, all in that same jagged handwriting. Some names are familiar: the vicar, Dr. Griffith, even Jerry himself. Others are strangers, or maybe pseudonyms. She was hiding it. Megan whispers, "Why?" Jerry's pulse quickens. Is this the poison pen's blueprint, or something else entirely? Miss Marple examines the list with her usual calm, her fingers tracing the jagged script. "This is deliberate," she murmurs. "Not a prank, but a plan." She points out a detail Jerry missed. The dates. Some are recent, others go back months, before the first letters appeared. One name stands out: Agnes, the Symingtons' maid. Why her? She's just a nervous girl, barely noticeable, yet her name is underlined twice. Jerry tracks Agnes down, finding her scrubbing dishes in the Symington kitchen, her hands shaky. When he mentions the letters, she flinches, her eyes wide. "I don't know anything," she stammers, but her voice cracks. She's hiding something. and Jerry feels it like a chill down his spine. The village isn't helping. Mr. Pie, with his sly smile, drops hints about old grudges but refuses to elaborate, his eyes gleaming with secrets. Dr. Griffith brushes off questions, his gruff manner sharper than usual. Even Mr. Symington, still reeling from his wife's death, seems distracted, his gaze lingering on corners of the house as if expecting to see her ghost. The letters keep coming, relentless. One accuses the vicar of stealing church funds, another claims Mr. Pye is hiding a criminal past. Each one chips away at Lymstock's trust, turning neighbors into strangers. Jerry wonders if the writer is among them, watching the chaos unfold. Miss Marple's questions take a new turn. She talks to Agnes, gently coaxing her to open up. The maid admits she saw someone near the Symington house the morning Mrs. Symington died, a figure in a dark coat, too quick to identify. I thought it was nothing, Agnes whispers, tears welling. But now, Miss Marple doesn't push, but her eyes sharpen. She tells Jerry to focus on the list, to look for patterns. The writer knows too much, she says. There, close, part of this village's heartbeat. Her words make Jerry rethink everyone. Could it be Mr. Pye's cunning, Dr. Griffith's reserve, or even Megan's odd intensity? The chapter ends with a jolt. Late at night, Jerry spots a light flickering in the Symington garden where no one should be. He creeps closer, heart pounding, and sees a shadow moving near the shed, the same shed where the cyanide was supposedly kept. Before he can act, the figure vanishes, leaving only a scrap of paper on the ground. It's another letter, unfinished, addressed to Agnes, accusing her of knowing too much. The ink is fresh, the threat raw. Jerry clutches it, his mind racing. Is Agnes in danger, or is she part of the game? The net is tightening, and Miss Marple's quiet presence looms larger. In Chapter 4, a desperate act pushes the mystery closer to its heart, and a forgotten detail changes everything. Who do you think was in that garden? Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for the next twist. Lymstock's quiet streets feel like a trap now, each cobblestone hiding a secret ready to trip you up. Jerry Burton's hands still tremble from finding that unfinished letter in the Symington garden, its words aimed at Agnes like a loaded gun. The poison pen is no longer just a nuisance, it's a predator, stalking the village with ink and malice. Miss Marple, with her calm eyes and steady knitting, seems to see through the chaos, but even she admits the puzzle is far from solved. As the letters multiply and suspicion poisons every conversation, a desperate act shakes Lymstock to its core, and a forgotten detail threatens to unravel everything Jerry thought he knew. The morning after Jerry's discovery in the garden, the village is abuzz with fresh tension. He tucks the letter away, its accusation against Agnes, knowing too much, burning in his mind. He wants to confront her, but she's nowhere to be found. The Symington house is eerily quiet, with Mr. Symington locked in his study and Megan pacing the halls like a caged animal. Jerry heads to the vicarage to share the letter with Miss Marple, who's sipping tea with Mrs. Dane Calthrop. The old lady studies the crumpled paper, her fingers tracing the jagged script. This isn't just anger, she says softly. It's fear. The writer is losing control. Her words send a chill through Jerry. If the writer's scared, what are they capable of? Jerry's determined to find Agnes. He tracks her to the village shop, where she's buying thread, her face pale and her hands fidgeting. When he corners her, she looks ready to bolt. "I didn't do anything," she whispers, her voice barely audible. "But I saw something." She hesitates, glancing over her shoulder as if the walls have ears. Before she can say more, Mr. Pye saunters in, his sly grin cutting the conversation short. "Trouble follows you, Mr. Burton," he says, his tone playful but edged with something darker. Jerry brushes him off, but Agnes slips away, leaving him with more questions than answers. Was she about to confess or warn him? Back at Little Furs, Joanna is rattled, the latest letter still haunting her. It's like they're inside our heads. She tells Jerry her usual spark dulled. She's been talking to the locals, piecing together stories of past letters. One went to the baker, accusing him of watering down his flour, another to the school teacher, hinting at a scandal with a student's father. None of it's true, but the lies are precise. Tailored to hurt. Joanna wonders if the writer is someone they see every day, hiding behind a neighborly smile. Jerry shares the garden letter with her and her eyes widen. Agnes? Why her? She's just a maid. But Jerry's not so sure. Miss Marple's words echo, the truth is in what people hide. The day takes a darker turn when Agnes vanishes. She doesn't show up for work at the Symingtons, and her tiny room above the pub is empty, her few belongings untouched. The village whispers of runaway maids, but Jerry's gut screams foul play. He and Miss Marple visit the Symington house, where Megan is oddly silent, her eyes fixed on the garden shed. Miss Marple notices, her gaze sharp. You saw something there, didn't you? She asks gently. Megan flinches but nods. A shadow, she mutters. Moving fast. The night before. Before Mother. Her voice breaks, and Jerry realizes she's been carrying this since Mrs. Symington's death. Was it the same shadow he saw? And where's Agnes now? Miss Marple suggests they search the shed, and what they find tightens the knot in Jerry's chest. Tucked behind a sack of gardening tools is a bottle, its label faded but clear. Cyanide. It's not proof of murder, but it's too convenient, too close to where the shadow fled. Inspector Graves, reluctantly dragged back into the case, dismisses it as coincidence. Cyanide's common in old sheds, he says. But Miss Marple's not convinced. She points out a detail Jerry missed, a faint smear of ink on the bottle's rim, the same black as the letters. Careless, she murmurs, her eyes glinting. Or desperate, she starts asking about Agnes's habits, her friends, her fears. Megan mentions Agnes was sweet on a local boy, Tom, who works at the mill. Could he know something? Jerry tracks down Tom, a lanky lad with nervous hands. He's devastated, swearing Agnes was fine when he saw her last. She was scared, though, he admits, said someone was watching her, following her. He points Jerry toward the churchyard where Agnes liked to walk. There. Jerry finds another clue, a scrap of paper caught in the brambles, torn from a notebook. It's not a letter, but a sketch, a crude drawing of a hand holding a pen, with names scribbled around it, including Agnes's. The handwriting matches the letters. Jerry's heart races. Is this the writer's work, or a copycat's taunt? Miss Marple examines the sketch, her face unreadable. This is a mind unraveling, she says, but also a mind revealing itself. She urges Jerry to look closer at the villagers' routines, who's been absent when letters appear, who's been too curious. Mr. Pye's name comes up again. His love of gossip and his odd glee make him a suspect, but so does Dr. Griffith, whose brusque manner hides a nervous edge. Even Mr. Symington, with his distant grief, feels off, and Megan, her intensity, her cryptic hints. Could she be more than a bystander? The village is a tangle of motives, and Jerry feels like he's chasing ghosts. As night falls, a scream pierces Lymstock's quiet. It's from the churchyard, where a crowd gathers around a grim discovery. Agnes, crumpled beneath an oak, her neck bruised, her eyes wide with terror. She's alive, barely, and rushed to Dr. Griffith's care. Inspector Graves calls it an accident, a fall. Maybe, but Jerry sees the marks on her throat. Someone tried to silence her. Miss Marple, standing by the scene, says nothing but her knitting pauses, her gaze fixed on the crowd. Someone there knows more than they're saying. The chapter closes with Jerry staring at the sketch, its inked hand seeming to move in the flickering lamplight. The poison pen is striking closer, and no one's safe. In Chapter 5, Agnes's survival hangs by a thread, and Miss Marple uncovers a connection that turns the mystery upside down. Who do you think attacked Agnes? Drop your theories in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for the next chilling twist. Lymstock's heart beats with fear now, its once warm streets cold and shadowed. Agnes lies in Dr. Griffith's care, her survival uncertain. The bruises on her throat a stark warning from the poison pen. Jerry Burton feels the village closing, in each face a mask that might hide a killer. The sketch he found in the churchyard, its inked hand clutching a pen, surrounded by names bones in his pocket, a map to a mind he can't yet read. Miss Marple, with a quiet presence and piercing gaze, seems to see through the chaos, and her latest discovery, a connection no one expected, turns the mystery on its head. The moving finger is growing bolder, and Jerry's running out of time to stop it. The morning after Agnes's attack, Lymstock is a hive of whispers. Jerry visits Dr. Griffith's surgery, where Agnes rests, pale and silent, her breathing shallow. The doctor's face is grim, his usual gruffness softened by exhaustion. She's stable, but it's touch and go. He tells Jerry, his hands unsteady as he adjusts a bandage. Jerry presses him about the attack, but Griffith is evasive. Muttering about village hysteria and accidents, Jerry notices a bottle of ink on the doctor's desk, black and familiar, but before he can ask, Griffith ushers him out. The encounter leaves Jerry uneasy. Could the doctor, with his access to cyanide and his brusque demeanor, be involved? Or is he just another victim of the letter's poison? Miss Marple, meanwhile, is piecing together the puzzle with her usual calm. She invites Jerry to the vicarage, where she's been talking to Mrs. Dane Calthrop and sifting through village gossip. Over tea, she shares a startling find, the list Megan found in Mrs. Symington's desk. With its names and dates, matches a pattern. Several dates align with moments when certain villagers were away. Mr. Pye at an auction, Dr. Griffith at a medical conference, even Mr. Symington on a business trip. Absences are as telling as presences, Miss Marple says, her eyes sharp. The writer knows when people come and go. Jerry's mind races. Could the writer be tracking the village's movements? And if so, how? Megan, ever present and watchful, joins them, her face drawn. She's been digging through her stepmother's things, desperate for answers. She shows Jerry a locket she found hidden in Mrs. Symington's sewing box, engraved with initials that don't match her parents'. Inside is a tiny photo of a young woman, unfamiliar but strikingly intense. Mother kept it secret, Megan says, her voice low. She never wore it. Miss Marple examines the locket, her fingers gentle but deliberate. Secrets are currency in a village, she murmurs. This may be worth more than we know. Jerry wonders if the locket ties to the letters. Could Mrs. Symington have known the writer, or been their target for reasons beyond gossip? The investigation takes a darker turn when Jerry revisits the churchyard, hoping to find more clues. The brambles where he found the sketch are trampled, as if someone else has been there. He spots a glint in the grass, a broken pen nib, its tip stained with that same black ink. It's small, but it feels like a taunt left for him to find. He shows it to Miss Marple, who nods thoughtfully. The writer is proud, she says. They want us to know they're watching. She suggests talking to Tom, Agnes's sweetheart, again. Jerry finds him at the mill, his eyes red from worry. Tom admits Agnes had been acting strange for weeks, jumping at shadows, refusing to walk alone at night. She said she saw someone in the Symington garden, he says. Not just once, lots of times. Jerry's mind spins. The garden, the shed, the cyanide, it all circles back to the Symingtons. He confronts Mr. Symington, who's holed up in his study, surrounded by legal papers. The widower is distant, his grief a wall. But when Jerry mentions Agnes, his hand freezes on a glass. She's just a maid, he snaps. Too quickly. Jerry notices a stack of letters on the desk knot. Poison pen letters, but old correspondence, some in a woman's hand. Could they be tied to the locket? Before he can ask, Megan bursts in, her face pale. Agnes woke up. She says, she's talking. At the surgery, Agnes is weak but coherent, her voice a whisper. She tells Jerry and Miss Marple she was attacked in the churchyard by someone in a dark coat, their face hidden. They knew I saw them. She says, tears spilling. That night, in the garden before Mrs. Symington, she trails off, too scared to finish. Miss Marple presses gently, and Agnes admits she saw someone slip a letter under the Symington door days before the death. The figure was small, quick, and wore gloves, details that don't match any obvious suspect. Jerry's frustrated. Every clue seems to point everywhere and nowhere. Miss Marple, however, is undeterred. She starts connecting dots Jerry hadn't seen. The locket, the list, the pen nib, they all suggest a writer who's not just malicious but meticulous, someone embedded in Lymstock's daily life. She points to the churchyard as a key. It's a place of reflection, she says, and confession. She suggests checking the church records for any odd entries, marriages, deaths, anything tied to the locket's initials. Jerry agrees, but as they leave the surgery, he catches Mr. Pye watching from across the street. His smile too sharp, to knowing, is he just a gossip or something more? The chapter ends with a chilling moment. Late that night, Jerry wakes to a noise outside. Little furs, a soft scrape, like footsteps on gravel. He grabs a flashlight and steps into the garden, the air cold and still. There, pinned to the gate, is a new letter addressed to him. It's short, brutal, stop, or you'll end like Agnes. The ink is fresh, the threat alive. Jerry's heart pounds as he scans the darkness, but the writer is gone, swallowed by the night. Miss Marple's words echo. The writer is losing control, but that makes them more dangerous. In Chapter 6, a hidden truth about the locket surfaces, and Miss Marple's instincts lead to a suspect who's been hiding in plain sight. Who do you think left that letter for Jerry? Share your guesses in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for the next twist. Lymstock's quiet has turned suffocating, the village now a maze of half-truths and hidden eyes. Jerry Burton grips the latest poison pen letter, its stark warning, stop, or you'll end like Agnes, pulsing in his mind like a heartbeat. The air feels charged, as if the moving finger is circling closer, its ink-stained hand ready to strike. Agnes's survival, barely clinging to life, has shaken the village, and Miss Marple's calm presence is the only anchor in the storm. Her instincts, sharp as ever, uncover a truth about the mysterious locket that shifts the entire mystery, pointing to a suspect who's been hiding in plain sight. But with every step closer to the truth, the danger grows, and Jerry's about to learn just how deep Lymstock's secrets run. The day begins with Jerry restless, the letter's threat gnawing at him. He meets Miss Marple at the vicarage, where she's sorting through a pile of old parish records with Mrs. Dane Calthrop. The locket Megan found engraved with unfamiliar initials, and holding a photo of a young woman sits on the table like a silent witness. Miss Marple's been cross-referencing the initials EL against church records, her fingers moving with purpose. Villages keep their secrets close, she says, but they always leave traces. She's found something, a marriage record from 20 years ago, linking an Eleanor Langley to a man named Robert Symington, Mr. Symington's late brother. The photo in the locket matches a faded description of Eleanor, a woman who left Lymstock under a cloud of scandal. Could this be tied to Mrs. Symington's death? Or the letters? Jerry's mind reels. Mr. Symington never mentioned a sister-in-law, and the village gossip never hinted at her. He presses Megan, who's hovering nearby, her eyes darting nervously. She admits her stepmother rarely spoke of family, but once mentioned a troubled woman who'd hurt her husband long ago. Mother kept the locket hidden. Megan says, her voice low, she said it was dangerous. Jerry wonders if the locket is a clue to the poison pen's motive revenge, perhaps for an old betrayal. Miss Marple nods, her knitting paused. The past is never truly past, she says. It lingers, like ink on a page. Her words send a shiver through Jerry. Is the writer settling an old score? Determined to dig deeper, Jerry visits Mr. Symington. At his home, the widower is a shadow of himself. His eyes hollow as he shuffles through legal papers. Jerry mentions the locket, watching for a reaction. Symington's hand freezes, his face paling. Eleanor, that's ancient history. He snaps, but his voice wavers. He claims she was a troubled woman who ran off after his brother's death, leaving debts and rumors. But his quick dismissal feels rehearsed, and Jerry notices a locked drawer in his desk, its key dangling from Symington's watch chain. Is he hiding something? Before Jerry can press further, Megan interrupts, her voice sharp. Stop upsetting him. She says, her loyalty fierce but her eyes troubled. Jerry leaves, unconvinced, the locket's mystery burning brighter. Back in the village, the poison pen strikes again. A new letter arrives at the vicarage, accusing Mrs. Dane Calthrop of hiding a sinful past. It's vicious, even by the writer's standards, and the vicar's wife laughs it off, but her hands tremble. Jerry shows Miss Marple the letter, and she points out a subtle change. The handwriting is shakier, the words more frantic. They're rattled, she says. Something's pushing them to act. She suggests retracing Agnes's steps before her attack, focusing on the churchyard. Jerry agrees, and they head there, Megan trailing behind like a shadow. The churchyard is quiet, its gravestones worn and mossy. But Jerry notices something new, a fresh bouquet of flowers on an unmarked grave, tied with a ribbon stained with black ink. Miss Marple kneels by the grave, her eyes narrowing. This is no coincidence, she says. The church records show no recent burials, but the grave's soil is loose as if disturbed. Jerry digs carefully, his heart pounding, and finds a small tin box buried shallowly. Inside are scraps of paper drafts, of poison pen letters, some unfinished, all in that jacked script. One mentions Eleanor Langley, accusing her of ruining lives. Jerry's pulse races. Is this grave tied to the locket's owner? And why hide the drafts here? Miss Marple's calm voice cuts through his. Faults. The writer is sentimental, she says. They return to places of meaning. She suggests checking the church itself, where old records might reveal more about Eleanor. Inside the church, the air is cool and musty. Jerry and Megan sift through dusty ledgers while Miss Marple watches, her knitting needles silent. They find a baptism record for a child born to Eleanor Langley, a girl who'd be Megan's age now. The father's name is smudged, unreadable, but the date aligns with Megan's birth year. Jerry glances at Megan, who's staring at the page, her face pale. I didn't know, she whispers. Could she be Eleanor's daughter? And if so, why did Mrs. Symington hide the locket? The questions pile up, but before they can dig deeper, a noise echoes a heavy thud from the church tower. Jerry races up the narrow stairs, finding a broken window and a single black glove on the floor, its fingers stained with ink. The discovery electrifies the village. Inspector Graves, grudgingly involved, dismisses the glove as a prank, but Jerry's Not fooled. He shows it to Miss Marple, who notes its size small, almost delicate. Not a man's hand, she murmurs, her eyes flicking to Megan, then away. Jerry's stomach twists. Megan's been everywhere, always watching, but could she be the writer? Or is someone framing her? He thinks of Mr. Pye, with his sly comments, or Dr. Griffith. Whose ink bottle nags at Jerry's memory? Even Mrs. Dane. Calthrop, with her sharp intuition, seems to know more than she says. The village is a web, and every thread leads to a new suspect as night falls. Jerry walks Megan home, her silence heavy. She pauses at the Symington gate, her voice barely audible. I saw her once, she says. Eleanor in a dream, maybe. She looked like me. Her words linger, haunting, as she slips inside. Jerry heads back to Little Firs, but a rustle in the bushes stops him cold. He shines his flashlight, catching a glimpse of a figure small, cloaked, gone in a blink. Another letter waits on his doorstep, its message chilling. The truth is buried, but not deep. The ink is fresh, the threat alive, and Jerry knows. The writer is watching, waiting for his next move. Miss Marple's discovery about the locket has cracked the case open, but the answers only breed more questions. In Chapter 7, a confrontation with a key suspect reveals a betrayal that changes everything, and the poison pen's true motive begins to surface. Who do you think left that glove in the tower? Drop your theories in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe for the next heart-pounding twist. Lymstock is a village on the brink, its once cozy streets now laced with dread. Jerry Burton feels the weight of the latest letter. The truth is buried, but not deep, like a noose tightening around him. The black glove in the church tower, the locket tied to Eleanor Langley, and the buried drafts of poison pen letters all point to a writer who's both cunning and desperate. Miss Marple's quiet wisdom cuts through the fog, her knack for seeing what others miss guiding Jerry closer to the truth. But as he chases the moving finger, a confrontation with a key suspect reveals a betrayal that shakes Lymstock to its core, and the writer's motive begins to take shape, a motive rooted in pain, revenge, and secrets too long buried. Jerry wakes, with a fire in his chest, determined to unravel the locket's connection to the poison pen. The baptism record linking Eleanor Langley to a child Megan's age gnaws at him. Could Megan be more than a bystander? Her cryptic comments and constant presence feel less innocent now. He heads to the Symington house, where Megan is sorting through her stepmother's belongings, her movements jerky, her eyes avoiding his. Jerry tries to ask about Eleanor, but Megan cuts him off. Stop digging, she snaps, her voice sharp with something like fear. It won't bring Mother back. Her reaction is to raw, to defensive, and Jerry wonders if she's protecting someone or herself. Miss Marple, meanwhile, is at the vicarage, poring over the church records with Mrs. Dane Calthrop. She's found another clue, a death certificate for Eleanor Langley, dated a year after the baptism. Cause of death, poison unspecified. The record notes she was found in a nearby town, alone, with no family to claim her. Miss Marple's eyes narrow as she shares this with Jerry. Poison is a curious echo, she says, her voice soft but heavy. Mrs. Symington's death. Agnes's attack history repeats itself when grudges fester. Jerry's mind races. Could the poison pen be avenging Eleanor? And if so, who in Lymstock carries the kind of hate? The trail leads to Mr. Symington, whose guarded demeanor and locked desk drawer keep nagging at Jerry. He decides to confront him, but first, he visits Dr. Griffith, hoping to rule him out. The doctor's surgery is cluttered, the ink bottle still on his desk, its black contents a silent accusation. Jerry asks about Eleanor Langley. Watching Griffith's face, the doctor stiffens, his hands clenching. She was trouble, he mutters. Left a mess when she died. He claims he barely knew her, but his unease is palpable, and Jerry spots a letter on the desk, another poison pen note. Accusing Griffith of playing God with his patients, the doctor crumples it, his face dark. "This nonsense will ruin us all," he says, but Jerry wonders if Griffith's hiding more than frustration. Back at the vicarage, Miss Marple shares a theory. The writer is someone who feels wronged, she says, but they hide behind respectability. She points to Mr. Pye, the antique collector, whose love of gossip and sly comments make him a natural suspect. Jerry tracks him down at his cluttered shop, filled with dusty books and eerie trinkets. Pye's smile is wide as he talks about the letters, calling them a delightful drama. When Jerry mentions Eleanor, Pye's eyes flicker. "Oh, she was a scandal," he says, almost gleeful. "Broke hearts, ruined lives, then vanished. Some say she deserved her end." His tone is too casual, and Jerry notices a stack of old letters on Pye's counter, their paper yellowed but eerily. Similar to the poison pens, is Pye the writer or just a collector of secrets? The confrontation comes that evening at a village meeting, called to address the letter's chaos. The room is tense, neighbors eyeing each other like strangers. Jerry watches Mr. Symington, who's silent, his face a mask of grief. Miss Marple sits quietly, her knitting steady, but her eyes miss nothing. When the vicar pleads for unity, Mr. Pye stands, his voice smooth as he suggests the letters are a cry for attention. Jerry can't hold back. He accuses Pye of knowing more, mentioning the letters in his shop. The room goes silent. Pye laughs, but it's strained. "You're chasing ghosts, Burton," he says, but his hands fidget, betraying him. Then Megan speaks, her voice cutting through the tension. "It's not just ghosts," she says, her eyes locked on Mr. Symington. "It's family." She pulls the locket from her pocket, holding it up like a weapon. "This was my mother's, my real mother's. Eleanor." The room gasps. Mr. Symington's face drains of color and he stumbles, clutching the table. "You don't understand," he whispers, but Megan presses on. "You knew her. You let her die." The accusation hangs, heavy and raw. Jerry's stunned. Could Symington be tied to Eleanor's death? And is Megan the writer, avenging her mother? Miss Marple steps in, her voice gentle but firm. "Let's not leap to conclusions," she says, but her gaze on Symington is sharp. She asks him about Eleanor, and he admits she was his brother's wife, a woman who brought shame to the family. He claims she died of her own choices, but his voice cracks, and Jerry sees that locked drawer in his mind. Is Symington the writer, covering his tracks, or is he a victim of someone else's revenge? The meeting ends in chaos with accusations, flying and trust shattered. That night, Jerry finds another letter at Little Furze. Its message chilling: "You're too close, back off, or Megan pays." The ink is fresh, the handwriting shakier than ever. Jerry's heart pounds as he realizes the writer was here watching him. He rushes to the Symington house, but Megan's gone, her room empty. Panic sets in. Has the writer taken her, or is she out there, pen in hand, writing the next chapter of Lymstock's nightmare? In Chapter 8, Miss Marple follows a faint trail to a shocking revelation, and Jerry's search for Megan uncovers a truth that changes everything. Who do you think is behind that latest threat? Drop your guesses in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for the next heart-stopping twist. Lymstock's shadows grow longer, the village suffocating under the weight of its secrets. Jerry Burton's heart races as he stands in Megan's empty room. The latest poison pen letter, "You're too close, back off, or Megan pays," clenched in his fist. The ink's sharp scent lingers, a taunt from a writer who's always one step ahead. Megan's disappearance feels like a gut punch. Her accusation against Mr. Symington at the village meeting still echoing, "You let her die." The locket, tied to Eleanor Langley has cracked the case wide open, but the truth remains elusive. Miss Marple, with her steady gaze and quiet knitting, follows a faint trail that leads to a shocking revelation, while Jerry's desperate search for Megan unearths a truth that turns everything he thought he knew upside down. The moving finger is closing in and time is running out. Jerry bolts from the Symington house, the empty room fueling his panic. The village is dark, its streets silent except for the rustle of leaves in the wind. He heads to the vicarage where Miss Marple is waiting, her knitting needles clicking like a metronome. He shows her the letter, its threat against Megan raw and urgent. Her eyes narrow, but her voice stays calm. The writer is unraveling, she says, but desperation makes them dangerous. She points to the letter's shaky script, a sign of haste or fear. We must find Megan quickly, she adds, and follow the trail of Eleanor Langley. It's the key. Jerry nods, but his mind is a tangle. Could Megan be the writer, driven by her mother's tragic past? Or is she a victim, targeted for knowing too much? Miss Marple suggests starting at the churchyard, where the buried letter drafts and ink-stained flowers were found. Places hold memories, she says, and this writer clings to them. Jerry, clutching a flashlight, leads the way, the night air cold against his skin. The churchyard is eerie, its gravestones looming like silent judges. They find the unmarked grave again, its bouquet now wilted, the ink-stained ribbon fraying. Jerry digs deeper, his hands shaking, and uncovers another tin box, smaller than the last. Inside are more letter drafts, but these are different, personal, almost confessional. One reads, Eleanor deserved better, but they all lied. Another mentions the child with Megan's name circled in black. Jerry's breath catches. Is the writer avenging Eleanor's death? And is Megan that child? Back at the vicarage, Miss Marple examines the drafts, her face unreadable. She points out a phrase repeated in several. The truth is buried. It's literal and figurative. She says, Eleanor's story is the heart of this. She shares a new find from the church records. Eleanor Langley didn't just die of poison. She was suspected of taking her own life after a scandal involving Mr. Symington's brother, Robert. The village shunned her, whispers of infidelity and betrayal driving her away. But one detail stands out. Eleanor left behind a daughter, adopted quietly by a local family. Miss Marple's eyes meet Jerry's. Megan, she says softly, she may not know her own past, but that someone does. Jerry's mind races back to Mr. Symington's reaction at the meeting, his pale face, his trembling hands. Could he be the writer, hiding his family's shame? Or is he protecting someone else? Jerry decides to confront him again, but first, he checks on Agnes, still recovering at Dr. Griffith's surgery. The maid is awake, her voice weak but clear. It was a woman, she whispers, describing her attacker. Small, fast, with a scarf over her face. Jerry's heart sinks. Megan fits the description, but so does Mrs. Dane Calthrop, even Miss Barton. He asks about the garden shadow Agnes saw before Mrs. Symington's death. It was the same Agnes. Says, same scarf, same hurry. The pieces don't fit, and Jerry feels the writer slipping through his fingers. He heads to Mr. Pye's shop, hoping the gossip-loving collector might know more about Eleanor. Pye's there, polishing a silver candlestick, his smile sharp as a blade. Eleanor was a tragedy, he says, his voice dripping with relish. Loved the wrong man. Paid the price. He hints at a feud between Robert Symington and another localer man who vanished after Eleanor's death. When Jerry presses, Pye clams up, his eyes glinting. Some secrets are better left buried, he says, but Jerry notices a notebook on the counter. Its page is filled with jagged handwriting. He grabs it. ignoring Pye's protests and finds sketches of pens and names. Eerily like the churchyard drawing. Is Pye the writer, or just a collector of chaos? Jerry takes the notebook to Miss Marple, who's now at Little Furs with Joanna. She compares it to the letter drafts, noting similarities in the ink and phrasing. Mr. Pye enjoys the game too much, she says, but he's not our writer. He's a mirror, reflecting others' secrets. She urges Jerry to focus on Megan's disappearance, suggesting the girl might have gone to the old Langley cottage, a crumbling ruin on Lymstock's outskirts where Eleanor once lived. Jerry races there, the night thick with fog. The cottage is a wreck, broken windows, rotting beams, but a faint light flickers inside. He creeps closer, his flashlight catching a figure, Megan, curled in a corner, clutching a bundle of letters. "Megan," Jerry calls, but she startles, scrambling to her feet. "Leave me alone," she cries, her voice raw. She's been reading the letters, all addressed to her, accusing her of being Eleanor's shame. "I didn't know," she sobs. "I didn't know she was my mother." Jerry's heart twists. Her pain is real, but her presence here with those letters raises questions. Did she write them, driven by grief, or is she a pawn in someone else's game? Before he can ask, a creak echoes from the back of the cottage. Someone else is there. Jerry spins, his flashlight catching a glimpse of a scarf, a small figure darting into the shadows. He chases, but they're gone, leaving only a single letter on the floor. The child will pay for the mother's sins. Jerry brings Megan back to Little Furs, her hands trembling as she clutches the locket. Miss Marple listens to their story, her eyes sharp. The writer is protecting something, she says, or someone, but they're close to breaking. She points to the scarf. Agnes mentioned a detail that narrows the suspects. Jerry thinks of Mrs. Dane Calthrop, always observant, or Miss Barton, whose nervous demeanor hides a quiet strength. Even Joanna, with her sharp wit, crosses his mind, though he dismisses it. The village is a maze, and every path leads to a new betrayal. The chapter ends with a chilling discovery. As Jerry locks the cottage letters in a drawer, he finds another, slipped under his door. It's blank except for one line. Tomorrow it ends. The ink is fresh, the threat pulsing with finality. Jerry's blood runs cold. Is the writer planning a final act? And is Megan their target or their accomplice? Miss Marple's calm voice cuts through the fear. "We're close, Mr. Burton, but so is the danger." In Chapter 9, Miss Marple sets a trap for the writer, and a desperate act exposes the heart of Lymstock's darkness. Who do you think was in that cottage with Megan? Drop your theories in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for the next pulse-bounding twist. Lymstock teeters on the edge of chaos. Its once peaceful streets now a battleground of fear and suspicion. Jerry Burton's nerves are frayed. The latest letter tomorrow. It ends, a ticking clock in his mind. Megan's tearful confession. At the Langley cottage, clutching letters that branded her as Eleanor's shame, has left him reeling. Is she a victim, or is she playing a deeper game? Miss Marple, with her serene demeanor and piercing insight, senses the writer's desperation. Their careful facade crumbling. She's ready to set a trap to catch the moving finger, but the plan is risky, and a desperate act in the heart of Lymstock will expose the darkness that's been festering all along. The truth is close, but so is the danger, and one wrong move could cost everything. Jerry wakes to a grey dawn, the letters threat heavy in his chest. He meets Miss Marple at the vicarage, where she's sipping tea with Mrs. Dane Calthrop, her knitting needles silent for once. The old lady's calm is unnerving, her eyes sharp as she lays out her plan. The writer thrives on control, she says, but they're slipping. We must provoke them, force a mistake. Her idea is bold. Spread a rumor that Jerry's found. A key piece of evidence, a fake letter that claims to name the writer. If the poison pen takes the bait, they'll reveal themselves, either by confronting Jerry or sending a new letter. Jerry's uneasy playing bait feels reckless, but Miss Marple's confidence steadies him. Trust the village, she says. It always speaks. If you listen, they start by planting the rumor. Jerry visits the village shop, casually mentioning to the gossipy shopkeeper that he's found something big about the letters, locked away at Little Furze. He drops the same hint at the pub where Tom, Atkins' sweetheart, overhears. His eyes wide with worry, Mrs. Dame Calthorpe spreads the word to the church ladies, her voice laced with just enough urgency to spark whispers. By midday, Lymstock is buzzing, the rumour spreading like wildfire. Jerry feels eyes on him everywhere. Mr. Pye's sly glance, Dr. Griffith's tense frown, even Miss Barton's nervous fidgeting as she pauses. Someone's listening, and Jerry hopes it's the writer. Meanwhile, Miss Marple digs deeper into Eleanor Langley's past. She's found a letter in the church archives, written by Eleanor to the vicar years ago, pleading for help. It speaks of betrayal, a man who promised everything and gave nothing, and a child she couldn't keep. The letter's tone is desperate, its edges stained with tears and ink. Miss Marple points out the handwriting, not jagged like the poison pens, but the ink matches the bottle in Dr. Griffith's surgery. A coincidence, perhaps. She says, but coincidences are rare in murder. Jerry's mind spins. Could Griffith be tied to Eleanor's death, or is the ink a red herring, planted to mislead? Megan, still shaken, stays close to Jerry, her locket clutched like a talisman. She's reluctant to talk about the cottage, but when pressed, she admits she went there to feel closer to her real mother. I found those letters in the attic, she says, her voice trembling. They were waiting for me. Jerry wonders if someone led her there, using her grief as bait. He notices her watching Mr. Symington, her stepfather, with a mix of fear and anger. When Jerry asks about him, she hesitates. He knew about Eleanor, she says. He hated her, even after she died. Her words fuel Jerry's suspicion. Symington's locked drawer, his evasive answers, his connection to Eleanor's scandal. Is he the writer? Silencing the past, the trap begins to work. That afternoon, a new letter arrives at Little Furze, addressed to Jerry in that familiar jacked script. You think you're clever. It reads, but your evidence is a lie. Stop now or the girl dies. The threat against Megan is stark, the ink smudged as if written in haste. Jerry shows it to Miss Marple, who nods. They're rattled, she says. They know we're close. She suggests watching the village closely tonight, when the writer might act. Jerry enlists Joanna, who's been quietly observing the locals, her sharp wit picking up on their tales. She's noticed Mr. Pye lingering near the Symington house and Dr. Griffith avoiding the churchyard. Even Miss Barton, the timid spinster, has been seen near the cottage, her usual nervousness replaced by a strange resolve. As night falls, Jerry and Miss Marple set their plan in motion. Jerry announces at the pub that he's meeting Inspector Graves to hand over the evidence. At the churchyard at midnight, it's a lie, but the bait is set. He and Miss Marple hide near the unmarked grave, the air thick with fog and tension. The village is silent, but Jerry feels watched, his skin prickling. At 11:55, a figure emerges, small, cloaked, moving fast. Jerry's heart pounds as he recognizes the scarf Agnes described. The figure kneels by the grave, digging frantically as if searching for something. Jerry steps forward, flashlight raised. But the figure spins, a glint of metal in their hand, a knife. Stop. Jerry shouts and the figure freezes. It's Miss Barton, her face pale, her eyes wild. You don't understand, she cries, her voice breaking. I had to protect her. Before Jerry can react, Megan appears, running from the shadows. Screaming, "Don't hurt her!" The scene erupts in chaos. Miss Barton drops the knife, sobbing, as Megan clings to her. Miss Marple steps forward, her voice calm. "Miss Barton," she says, "tell us about Eleanor." The spinster collapses, her words spilling like a dam breaking. "She was my sister," she whispers. "They destroyed her, and I swore they'd pay." Miss Barton's confession is a bombshell. She admits to writing some letters, driven by grief for Eleanor, but swears she didn't kill Mrs. Symington or attack Agnes. "Someone else used my pain," she says, her voice raw. "They took my letters, made them worse." Jerry's stunned theirs. Another writer, Miss Marple's eyes gleam. "A puppet master," she murmurs, pulling strings. The chapter ends with Miss Barton's arrest, but the real writer still lurks, their final move looming. Megan's safe, but her tears hint at more secrets, and Jerry knows the truth is still buried. In Chapter 10, Miss Marple unravels the final thread, and the poison pen's true identity is revealed in a heart-stopping showdown. Who do you think is the real writer? Drop your guesses in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for the thrilling finale. Lymstock is a village holding its breath, its secrets spilling like blood from an open wound. Miss Barton's confession in the churchyard that she wrote some of the poison pen letters. Out of grief for her sister, Eleanor Langley has stunned Jerry Burton, but her claim that another hand twisted her words into murder chills him to the bone. The true writer, the puppet master behind Mrs. Symington's death and Agnes's attack, is still out there. Their final threat tomorrow, it ends a ticking bomb. Miss Marple, her calm unshaken, is ready to unravel the last thread of this twisted mystery. In a heart-stopping showdown, the poison pen's identity is revealed, and Lymstock faces the truth of its darkest heart. Grab a seat, because this finale will leave you speechless. The morning after Miss Barton's arrest, Lymstock feels like a ghost town. The village is hushed, neighbors avoiding each other's eyes. The weight of suspicion crushing what little trust remains. Jerry sits with Miss Marple at Little Furs, the latest letter's words burning in his mind. Megan, shaken but safe, stays close, her locket a constant reminder of her mother, Eleanor, whose tragic past seems to drive the chaos. Miss Marple's knitting needles are still, her gaze sharp as she lays out the pieces. Eleanor's death by poison, Miss Barton's vengeful letters, the second writer's deadly escalation. The true writer hides behind another's pain, she says, her voice low. They're clever, but pride betrays them. Jerry's pulse quickens, she's close to cracking it. But who's left to suspect? Miss Marple suggests focusing on the one place all clues converge. The Symington house, Mrs. Symington's death. The cyanide in the shed, Agnes's attack. Megan's locket, all roads lead back there. Jerry's mind churns through the suspects. Mr. Symington, with his locked drawer and evasive grief, feels like a shadow at the edge of every clue. Dr. Griffith, with his ink bottle and brusque manner, knows more than he says. Mr. Pye's glee and cryptic hints make him a wild card. Even Mrs. Dane Calthrop, with her sharp intuition, could be hiding a darker side. But Miss Marple's focus is narrower. Look at motive, she says. Who gained from Mrs. Symington's death? Who thrives in the chaos? Jerry decides too. Search the Symington house with Megan's reluctant permission. She's quieter now, her anger softened by fear, but she agrees to let him in while her stepfather's at his office. The house is oppressive, its silence heavy with ghosts. Jerry starts in Mr. Symington's study, where the locked drawer still nags at him. Using a paperclip, he picks the lock, his hand steady despite his racing heart. Inside, he finds a bundle of letters, not poison pen letters, but love letters written in a neat, feminine hand. They're addressed to Mr. Symington, signed Elsie, and dated just before Mrs. Symington's death. Jerry's stomach drops. Elsie Holland, the Symingtons' governess. A quiet beauty who's been nearly invisible in the chaos. Was she involved with Symington? Did Mrs. Symington find out? Megan catches him with the letters, her face pale. Those aren't Mother's, she whispers, her voice trembling. She admits she'd seen Elsie and her stepfather talking late at night, their heads close, their voices low. Jerry's mind races. Could Elsie be the writer, using Miss Barton's letters as a cover to eliminate Mrs. Symington and clear her path to Symington? He takes the letters to Miss Marple, who reads them carefully, her eyes glinting. Love is a powerful motive, she says, but so is greed. She points out a detail Jerry missed. The letters mention security and a new start, hinting at financial gain. Miss Marple suggests checking Mr. Symington's legal files. Could he have had a reason to want his wife gone? At the vicarage, Mrs. Dane Calthrop helps them access Symington's public records. They find a will. Mrs. Symington left everything to Megan, with Symington as trustee until she's of age. If Megan were discredited or worse, Symington would inherit. Jerry's blood runs cold. Symington had motive, means, and opportunity. But why the letters? Miss Marple's answer is chilling. A distraction. The poison pen created chaos, hiding the real crime. She suspects Symington used Miss Barton's letters to mask his own, planting the cyanide and staging his wife's death as suicide. Agnes's attack was to silence her, as she'd seen him in the garden. But Elsie's role nags at Jerry. Is she an accomplice or a pawn? Miss Marple sets a final trap. She asks Jerry to spread a rumor that Megan's found a hidden letter from her stepmother, accusing Symington of murder. They stage a meeting at the Symington house that night, with Inspector Graves, Mrs. Dane Calthrop, and Megan present. Jerry's nervous, but Miss Marple's calm is unshakable. The writer will come, she says. They can't resist. As the clock strikes 10, the house is tense, the air thick with anticipation. Megan sits by the fireplace, clutching the locket, her eyes wide. Symington arrives, his face drawn, with Elsie trailing behind, her beauty marred by fear. Jerry lays out the bait, claiming Megan's letter is locked in the study safe. Symington's eyes flicker, but he stays composed, denying everything. Elsie, however, falters, her hands twisting. It's not true, she says, too quickly. Miss Marple steps forward, her voice gentle but relentless. Miss Holland, she says, you wrote the letters, didn't you? Not all, but the deadly ones. The room freezes. Elsie's face crumples and Symington lunges, shouting, she's lying. But Miss Marple's evidence is ironclad. The love letters' ink matches the poison pens, and Elsie's handwriting, disguised but traceable, is on the letter that drove Mrs. Symington to her death. Symington orchestrated it, using Elsie's love for him to manipulate her into writing, planting the cyanide and silencing Agnes when she saw too much. Elsie breaks, sobbing, admitting she wrote the letters to free Symington, believing his lies about his wife's cruelty. Symington, cornered, tries to flee, but Inspector Graves restrains him. The truth spills. Symington wanted his wife's money and Elsie, using Miss Barton's grief-fueled letters as a smoke-screen. Eleanor's tragedy was his leverage, her locket a taunt, to keep Megan unstable. The village, Miss Marple says, was a stage for his greed. As Symington and Elsie are led away, Megan clings to Jerry, her locket gleaming. Lymstock's darkness is exposed, but the scars remain. The next day, the village begins to heal. Miss Barton, cleared of murder, mourns her sister quietly. Agnes recovers, her truth vindicated. Megan, finding strength in her mother's memory, decides to stay in Lymstock, rebuilding her life. Jerry and Joanna, their peace restored, plan to leave, but not before thanking Miss Marple. You saw what we couldn't, Jerry says. She smiles, her knitting resumed. People are predictable, she says. Their sins write their stories. As Lymstock's sun sets, the moving finger is still, its poison drained. That's the end of the moving finger, a tale of secrets, betrayal, and a village laid bare. What did you think of the twist? Who did you suspect? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button if you loved this journey. And subscribe for more mysteries with me. Stay curious, and I'll see you in the next video.